tonight, my guest is Linton Smith. So Linton is Linton, I did it with Nadia the other day. Could you please introduce yourself? I might not do it any justice.
Listen, I'm Linton Smith, and the happy is because I try to always be happy. There's a saying that in everything give thanks, and I'm always trying to give thanks for every situation because a learning situation. I am founder of the Delta Learning System and the BLISS Centre. My focus is on helping parents to really motivate and inspire their children to a high level of performance and behavior. So that's really me in a nutshell. I'm a psychometrician, which means that I not only administer psycho-educational assessments, but I also develop some tools that are local and that are geared towards our West Indian population.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, guys, Linton is a man that he has helped me a lot with figuring out this parenting thing. He also has assessed my son, and I like to tell this story. I remember there was a client of his that I met, and she asked me, well, she wasn't a client yet. She wanted to become a client. And she asked me, how did Linton help your son? And I said, he didn't. He helped me, because I was actually the one that needed the work, not my child. So that's a story I love to tell, because he sure did help me. He's one of the many. And he's in the group. You've seen him respond. So if you ever need his services, don't be shy, reach out to him. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to raise confident young men. The caption I put is, they say women cannot raise real men, or cannot raise boys to be men. But some of us don't have a choice. I don't have one. So I've got to do it. So there must be a way to raise confident, well-grounded young men. I've seen it done before. And so I want some of the tools, and we're here to help you guys get the tools. So Linton.
Yes,
and I'm sure this is something you're going to say. One of the things that's necessary in raising a confident young man is that we must connect with our child. Now, this is a word that's been used a lot. Even in the group, I use it a lot. When Nadia and I spoke last week, she used it. Explain to us, what is this connection we're talking about between parent and child?
It's just simply seeing the world, or seeing the child's world through their own eyes. For example, a simple example: a child is in the early age of development. They are preschool, and they just been through a trauma. They just fell and bruised the knee, and they've really nothing that you can say can comfort them. The thing to do, first of all, before you're saying that, look, it's just a small little thing, you soon get better, or something like that. Put your hand on the shoulder of the child and say, I understand it must be hurting, right? Get them, be connected to them emotionally, because they are going through an emotional turmoil at that time. It's the worst thing that has ever happened to them. And so at that time, you don't need to tell them that, look, you're a big boy now, so you should shake that up and toughen up, as we love to say to boys. Look, toughen up. You need to say, I understand that it must be painful, and maybe tell me how it happened, and get them to talk, because what you're doing is really trying to let them know that you understand that they are going through this trauma, right? So at whatever age, is first of all to let them understand that you feel their pain and you love them just the same. It is, and at different age you have to do different things, but at that age, what you want to do is just put a hand on the shoulder and say, I understand that it must be hurting. I remember when I was small too. And you can tell stories that you have when you're a child. You could also tell them that I had that. I fell down. I remember falling down one day and bruising my elbow, and this is what I know how it feels. So let them realize that it is normal for that to happen to them. So they will not feel stupid, because what you want them to do, you want them to be confident that, look, it's not because I'm stupid why this happened to me, but it is part of growing up. It is just part of thing.
You know, you said something, and this is something that I realize as Caribbean people, as people of African descent, because it's not just Caribbean people alone, but Black people. We have some ways that we raise our children that, and I mean, that the skits on it, we talk about what happened to us when we were children and we laugh about it. But the truth is, it's not funny. As you said, a little boy thought, get up, man, and brush off that. You're a big man, youth. You know, you have to go on, so. No, he's a child. He's a baby. Worse if it's a little 5-year-old, you know. You can't be talking about
And
your big
and,
man.
and connect really mean that you're connected emotionally, because they're going through an emotional thing. So you can't bring logic. When child is going through an emotional state, you cannot use logic there, right? Because let me tell you something, boys especially don't start thinking critical thinking until about 20, you know.
Thank you.
They don't start critical thinking until about 20. So in telling them that, look, logically, what you are expecting, and start use logical reasoning, it is not good. It is driving them farther away. It's not
Exactly.
connecting
It's
with them at
something,
all.
and you know, it's something you taught me that children operate on an emotional level. So
Right.
when we come with our logics, why would you do that? Why would you? And the child sit down there with a blank stare,
But
looking
at
at us.
50, some of us are doing things that we don't really realize why we're doing it too. And we're making the
Exactly.
same errors. We're going through it too. And think about them. You know, we last week we talked about Nadia talk about brain and how the brain works and how the brain develops and all that stuff. Their brain is just really the emotional side of the brain that is working at that time. You know, logic don't come in yet.
Exactly. And we really need to understand that. I must admit it's something I struggle with even up till now, because when my 14-year-old has this deep baritone voice and taller than me, and I want to say, seriously, why? You know, think about it. But I always hear you in my ear, Linton, saying, nope, he's operating on emotional level. Your logic don't mean anything right now. He's not going to get it. And yes, I get annoyed when I say, why would you do that? And he goes, I don't know. But he's right. He doesn't.
Right,
You know,
because hormones, when puberty steps into, is a different problem, and you have to connect in a different way. It's a different problem where puberty steps in, because they're not they don't even realize what they're doing. You know, they themselves don't realize what they're doing, because one moment they get up and they want a hug from mommy, the next moment they want to be challenging, and you have to
exactly.
understand that.
We get know that to connect means to um hold on, you said it. How
Meet
that
them at their emotional, meet them at their
meet them
emotional level. Meet them
okay.
at their emotional state. Just meet them at their emotional state, because it is emotion. Every behavioral problem, you know, is an emotional problem. It's not a logical problem. It's not logic, it's emotion, right? And
True,
we
true.
there.
So what I want to ask you, tell me now, how do we connect with our sons at different levels? You have the toddler, you have say I said the kindergarten stage, the primary stage, just to give it an age range, and then the teenage stage. So on
In
the
in the,
kindergarten stage,
in the introduction, you said something about affirmation. I think you said that, and that
no, we
is,
don't need to there say it. Oh, we need
well,
to go there. So
yeah. We need to understand that what a child needs is to be affirmed. There must be something good. For instance, when we deal with rewards and punishment, you know, what we are doing, because that is what Caribbean people do, West Indian people do, reward and punishment. Him do this, him do this, that, taking away that from him. Him do this, and I give him a present or something like that. Reward and punishment mean that you don't love them all through. You have to be a holistic parent where you love them even when they do the things that are bad. And therefore, affirmation is key. We have to find out. We have to use delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is one way you connect with them as they get a little bit older and start entering, for instance, high school. Delayed gratification. The homework, something is not done at school, for instance, and so you get a complaint from the teacher, or you get a complaint from some other person who is supervising the child. And what you do in terms of even connecting with a child is, first of all, to use the sandwich approach.
yes,
You say something good first. Look, I was at work today, and I remember that thing that you did last week or 2 weeks ago, and that is why and I am so proud of you. And that is why it is shocking me now that you, the same person who did that last week, is doing it. So what you're doing, you're still making them know that you're not pleased, but you start out with an affirmation. You started with something that they have done in the past, right? And you said, you are still my wonderful child because you did that. No, I am a little bit surprised that you did this. I don't know. I don't know if you are confusing me, right? However, I am here for you. And let me tell you, whatever it is that is happening with you, you can always come and talk to me. I'll be here for you and I still love you. And that is why I will always be here to help you to get through your rough patches. So you start with affirmation, you say what you didn't like, and you close with the support, to give the support that, look, I will always be here for you. And you are my son who I love. I don't love your behavior. I don't love what you did. But let me tell you, I will always love you.
Okay.
Start saying at that age, because now they'll understand that, and they'll tell their friend, that's one thing, my mommy loved me, right? I mean, they want to know that, right? And you have to let them know that yes, there's good in them. So because you affirm something that they did, it was 2 weeks ago, and it is more powerful when you can talk about a past thing, because what it does to the child mind is that, mom is really thinking about me, that you remember that I did 2 weeks ago. Yes, it is powerful. It connects and it keeps the connection.
When you bring that up, something I have noticed even before I had children is that when we have those babies and like they start walking or they start saying a word, oh, we praise them. Oh, look at you, nice. I will give them clap. I will hug them. I will kiss them. They walk on the fall down. I will go, oh, we'll praise them. And then as they get older, especially going into puberty, the 10, 11, or maybe even a little younger, so maybe about 7, 8, those praises completely gone, and it's constant criticism, constant, and it's something we need to watch, because I must admit, I've had to watch myself, because especially as a single mother, you're under a lot of pressure. Sometimes you forget to give the praises.
Right.
And so the little things I do that annoy you, and you talk about that a lot, and that's what you focus on. And one thing I've learned, what you focus on is what you nourish and is what grows.
Right.
So, like I said, so I always remind myself, no matter the little thing, parents, I'm going to tell you something. The truth is, sometimes you have to dig deep to find a good enough, but find it. Whatever it is, dig deep and find that good thing that you can say, you are X and you are Y. You're loving, you're kind, you're funny, you make me laugh, you're fun. I like how you're adventurous. Whatever it is, there must be something you can find and use it.
Let me tell you something that happened with my own in my own life. Both my parents were always there. I had a loving mother and a loving father. I had a more loving father who would hug. My mother didn't do a lot of the hugging. My father did. But I'll tell you something that to this day still stick with me. I was born prematurely at 7 months. I grew up very skinny, right? But one thing, yes, I still am. One thing my mother said to me all through my life, and she said to all 7 of us, because there are 7 siblings that I have, she said to us individually and collectively, you are as good as any, better than many, and inferior to none. I'll never forget those words as long as I live. Right? You are as good as any, better than many, and inferior to none. My mother said that, right? And I think that it is powerful for any mother to say that to her child, right? Because my mother is gone, but I still remember it. You are good. So affirmation, objectivity, don't compare your child. What we tend to say, look at what your cousin is doing, right? Is your brother's child or your sister's child. Look at what he's doing. Both of you are same age. No, he's an individual. He's one of over 7 billion people in the world. He's one of, and there are no two fingerprints alike. Parents need to understand that. So you need to look at your child objectively. He's one of 7 billion. And
exactly. And for those of us who have more than one, most of us, Nadia is on, Liza is on, both of them are usually day and night, total opposites. And as you reminded me earlier, Linton, even twins.
Let me tell you, there are some twin studies done. Twin studies have been done, and where they separate two children at birth. They separate them. One going to like a middle class home, and one is raised in an upper class home. And when they put them together back at age 30, although they were doing each other, they had a different environment in terms of development, but in terms of personality, their personality was sort of the same. So there are some things that are constant, but there are some things that change totally. Because as I said before, the key to rearing children is to remember that it's not nature or nurture. It is both. It is how they interact. It is nature and nurture. It is nature and nurture, right? So although a child is oriented to sensing, and one is oriented to intuition, but surely you can get them all to perform if you understand them individually and deal with them as two individuals. So it's affirmation, objectivity, individuality, and encouragement. Oftentimes, I want to say this, the last point I want to make a connection here is that the child is getting 30, and let us look at school, getting 30, and maybe the most they're getting for a particular subject, say maths, is 40. And what parents do when the child gets 50 is say, well, that's not good enough, I am saying the way to encourage that child and to connect with that child is say, I see that you have improved. So those three are important: affirmation, objectivity, and encouragement. If you practice that with your child daily, right, let me tell you something, you have nothing to worry about. Affirmation, objectivity, encouragement.
True. Guys, I hope you're writing this down.
You are going to put yourself into a position and look, I had this happening to me too. And let me tell you, it really did hurt. And what my mother did was that. What do you think? You can now ask, what do you think we need to do? Let's say it's somebody at school give you a bump. What do you think? Let them talk. Give them an opportunity to say what they think the solution should be, what they can do. What can you do? Right? Ask them a question. And normally I say open-ended question. What do you think we can do? Because it's both of us going to solve it. What do you think? What do you suggest we do? And hear what they have to say, because you can learn a lot by just hearing what they have to say, how they would go about it.
All right. Yeah. So what we were looking at, there are different ways to, depending on the stage of the child, and figuring there are different ways to connect with that child. What you've discussed before, I think can work for toddler stage or primary stage. But I kind of want to jump quickly into that teenage stage. Suppose you realize, boy, I've never really taken the time to connect with my boys. My boys are 14 and 12. Suppose I realize now that I've really never taken the time to connect with them. What advice you're going to give me? Because this is a volatile stage, the adolescent stage, where they're going through all kind of things. How can I connect with them at this stage, which I think it's a little harder, but
yes, because the hormones setting now, and they are not sure themselves who they are. Because what happens at the teenage stage is that the boy, at one moment he feels that he's big and nobody can talk to him, because hormones tell him two things. One, the hormones say to him that you're a man now, you're a big man now, and nobody can tell you.
Oh Lord, yes.
Right? And therefore, one morning he gets up and that is how he feels. And then the next moment, the hormones tell him that, look, I need a hug from a mother, right? And it confuses us as parents. It confuses because one moment we're not sure, we're really not sure. I am saying that the hormones tell him at one moment that he's a big man, and then the hormones tell him that, look, you need a hug from your mommy, right? Long time your mommy don't hug you. So it confuses us because at that time, and what you need to say again, your one stories are going to be very important, that look, I remember at one stage, I thought I knew everything, and I used to do this. And I remember my mother saying this to me, but look, I realized that, look, mothers don't know everything. Neither will you know everything, right? Be honest with them. The key is honesty. I don't know everything, right? I'm not good at even subject, even schoolwork. I am not good at every subject that you do. However, right, we all have special gifts and talent, and therefore my job is to help you to be the best that you were made to be. That sort of reasoning, because at that puberty stage they can understand the reasoning. They are able to understand that, look, this is important. And what is happening to them is not just they're giving you a problem. It is a part of growth. They are growing, they are going through these stages, right? And
Yes.
you went through it too. And what happened to you when you were going through it, right? For instance, you wanted to go dancing and your parents didn't want you to go dancing, and what it did for you and what you realized sometime after, that sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
It is really your personal stories that are going to be helpful at that time, that you went through all of that too, and you felt the same way, that look, they were being hard on you, but you realize that in the long run it wasn't.
Right. So basically what you're saying, it's no matter what stage they are at, toddler, preschool, teenage, at the end of the day, the connection is to connect is the same thing. Connect
Right,
through information, connect through meeting them on the emotional level.
right,
Um,
right. And
letting
let
them
them know
realize,
that you weren't the perfect child. Also, you weren't. You did some things too, and you were angry about some things too, right? You
right.
really were angry. I want to just tell you a story here quickly. I work with children who pass a GSAT, or well, no, is well, it was a GSAT in a prominent high school, and there was a gentleman who went off in July when I was doing a test at that school to find out where they were going to place them based on their personality, their learning style, and their what we call multi intelligence uh, battery. And this man, he took them off it took them out to vacation. And when he came back, I had to go to his office and did the test at the office because I had to get the report into the high school. And that gentleman told me, he was 52 at the time. I'll never forget it. And he said to me that, look, he had his 12th birthday, and when he was at the party, they made ice cream in a bucket thing in the country. He was from the country part, middle class, and the thing that was in the center of the bucket with the ice cream, he wiped his finger on it and licked it off. And his mother looked through the window and saw him and said it was gross. And look, he was not going to be at his own party, and he wasn't at his own party. And when he was 52
Oh,
years old, it was still hurting him. At
yeah.
52, it was still hurting him. So what I'm saying here is that, look, we have to be careful of how we deal with our boys, because
Yes. Yes.
at 40 years later, it was still hurting him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of what the parent did to him. So what we need to do is try to understand that he was not trying to be rude or anything. He was not trying to be naughty, right? It was something
He's a
that he
child.
right. He's a child at 12, right? But surely again, we have to understand that even when they are 12-year-old, they could be the developmental stage. And I spoke about that when we just started to say, knowing your child, knowing who you have as a child, because you could have two children, but they are different. Knowing who you have at 12-year-old, that 12-year-old might be operating at some level as a 7-year-old, and you have to meet him at a 7-year-old. You have to
Yes.
first connect with
Yes.
him as a 7-year-old, and then you transition into what needs to be done. But you have to connect at that level. That's a level is reason that, So don't reason with him at
Exactly.
15. You want to reason with him at 15 because it's going to be over his head totally.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of parents do that where, they're saying, you're 12 years old, you should stop that now, man. And, I'm always thinking, yeah, that's just a
What all
number.
12-year-olds, some 12-year-old can ride a bicycle. Some, for instance, I talk about bicycle. I didn't learn to ride a bicycle until I was about 18 years old, right? I just couldn't balance on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we all develop at different,
At different
stages,
stage, right?
different.
And what we have been exposed to. I was not exposed to a bicycle, nobody had a bicycle. So I didn't have a bike to practice on like my cousins, you know. Yes.
Go ahead
Uh,
and answer that.
okay. Dad need to dad need to make the effort, right? So this is something that she needs to discuss with dad. Look, this is happening to the boy. Is this kind of way distracted, and he doesn't know how to. You are the adult. Surely there are some things that he likes, and it's good to start out with what he really likes. I always say, if a boy, let's say for instance, the boy is not reading, doesn't like to read, but you realize that he likes football. One way that you can connect with him is buying books on football, buying books on the World Cup and all of that stuff. Get things that has to do with his passion, what he really loves, right? That might be it. You have to find out for him what else he really is into and connect at that level, because to connect with him, you have to find out what are his likes, what are his dislikes, right? And the way to do it is that I'm saying that there should be a discussion between mommy and dad to find out what is it exactly he likes, what is it that he's passionate about, and find some way of getting a discussion around that. Because if you get him to open up about the things that he likes, then you can bring you can connect in other areas because he's saying that daddy. And for instance, let's say he likes Manchester United football team, right? And you like Arsenal, the father like Arsenal. We'll talk about that now. And so why you like that, and get involved into that. Get involved into
And
something
get
that
a
he's
competitive
interested in.
spirit going on. You know, the male men like competition. Get a little competitive spirit going on.
Yes. Let him talk about it. Let him open up about why I'm like Manchester United and all of that stuff, and get that thing. Talk to him, get to his level again, because that is where his world is around football. So get into that. You have to get into what he's into and be willing to discuss the idiosyncrasies of whatever sports or whatever it is that he is passionate about. Get into his passion.
But you know, Linton, you said something that is very important. Daddy must remember he's the adult. I find that it can be challenging. Because you have some adults that behave worse than children.
Yes, him not can call me. Him not can call me too. Him not can call me too. Him not can make the effort too.
I have to have calling Mr. They're children, and they don't know to navigate this whole situation with us now not being together and all of that. Maybe they're picking up on my energy, my anger, because it took me time to deal with that. I'm at a good place now. We're all at a good place. But in the early stages, children pick up energy, and maybe they were picking up that. So they didn't know how to respond to him or how to deal. They don't want to make. Children are very perceptive, you know. So when one or both of the adults behaving like a child themselves, and I talk about them can call me to and them can this, it really creates more problem than anything.
True. And they only have emotions to go by. They have no logic to go by. But
Thank you.
him not call, because it's that. And see him take up him have another female I deal with. So maybe another really mom him vex with, and maybe us him really vex with. How do they know that is not going through their mind? Because that will go through their mind, Let me tell you something. I'd advise you mothers to watch a video called Moses Sitoli. He's an African, and I think he's spending about maybe 300 and odd years or 400 odd years in prison right now. And this story is very interesting. See what happens when children are neglected and when they think, because they operate based on what they think. And that's the extreme case. Moses Sitoli, right? Please watch it. When
he finished, he expects them to be calling him all the time. And that's so stupid. Well, Linton, we know say you're not psychologist, but is there a way to get to the fact that they behave so darn stupid?
let me tell you. Men are about the biggest thing about men, all men, and yes, all men. The biggest thing that men have is a 3-letter word named EGO.
Oh Lord, yes.
Men go with the ego tell them to do this, and the ego tell them to behave this way, and me no people are supposed to do that, no woman is supposed to do that, and they have these extremes that they think about. Right? They have this extreme that nobody can tell me nothing. And let me tell you, me know it all, right? And it is sad. It is sad. And my discipline is really working with children. I think it's mothers, and but I'm glad for this group, because let me tell you something. Mothers can do a better job at rearing responsible men than men.
Hallelujah. Linton, it's something I preach every day, right? When they talk about women can't raise men. And I said, that's not what I see out there in the world. I said the woman brings them, so that means the woman can build them. And yes, this is why I started this group.
Let me tell you,
all right? We have a responsibility.
We talk about teenage, but let's talk about teenage and young adult males, and see and listen to the conversation. Just take our Jamaican society. Listen to our Jamaican society. Well, the man can't tell me no, I just my mother, Look how much reggae songs we have about my mother, right?
True.
My
True.
mother, my mother. People gravitate towards my mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll fight for their mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember being on a bus with my mother and a man looking at her away, and I feel like I could have fight them up, right? With our mother, right? We have
Yeah.
this connection to our mother, you know. And you know, there's a friend of mine always say, and that rock the cradle rules the world. Is a friend of mine that says that all the time, and
Me,
and I,
yep.
I, I, I have to agree with that because mothers, where a child will say, look, no, after my mother, you know, when I let my mother, my mother. So women have the power. You
Of
guys
course
have
we
the
do.
power,
Of course we
right?
do. Even if the
That-
husband's still there and is a good dad, at the end of the day, there is something about that relationship between that boy and his mother. I
Yes,
posted a video
yeah,
yesterday
yeah, of
where
course.
Ayanla said at the end of it, mothers, your words are tangled with the coils of your son's heart.
Yes, yes. For instance, when a mother, let me
Yes,
tell you, it is more appreciated, they say, by a boy when a mother, if a mother drive him to a football game and watch it, believe it or not, it is much more, it is a bigger thing than if it's father did it, you know. I can tell you, it's a bigger thing. It
because
make
we mothers get excited and make up
a
noise.
lasting impression on the boy than the
Yep,
father doing it, right? It is a fact. It's a fact.
right. Because I've been there, honey. And let me tell you what I did. And it worked up until the man got over his big ego. I would tell the boys that look, um, be patient with dad. He's also growing up. He's also trying to figure out how to handle all of this new. This is all new, even to him. And even he doesn't know. And I say, even me. But as a woman, I might, handle it differently. But we're all trying to figure it out. So that's what I did with the boys constantly.
Yes.
I encourage them, when you actually speak to daddy, call him now. At the same time, I cuss the big man too. But to them, I say, well, give him a call and make him feel nice, make him feel special today. Yeah, just it's nice to do something nice. And I'd explain to them that, look, understand that daddy's a big kid too, and he's trying to figure it out too. And those were the talks I'd have with them. So while you try to encourage the big kid, talk to the little ones, meet them, as Linton pointed out, let them know you understand how they're feeling and how confusing this time must be and not knowing, how to figure it out. Assure them that you're there and you have their back. That's what I did with mine. And I'm glad to say, I don't know if the outcome would be the same for you. It's been 12 years. And so that you realize, I'm not taking him on, I'm not carrying him, bring come, whatever. And he has mellowed out and now playing his part.
Their work right now is their schoolwork. His work now is parenting. He's got to
Yeah,
learn parenting just the same way that they learn schoolwork.
exactly.
And they were
Exactly.
he wasn't born a
Yeah.
mathematician or a science student. He wasn't born that way. Well, parents were not born parents. It's something that you learn
Exactly.
too. And you make mistake in parenting. Everything you do, it's
Thank you. That's something I used to say to my boys a lot. I used to say, look, we adults don't know what we're doing either. We're trying to figure it out too. We make mistakes too. We're not perfect. That's something I always try to point out to them. So I think that's a good conversation to have. Nadia says, question, apart from the ego, could it be that they didn't get the connection we are talking about? Oh, most definitely. Can they give what they don't know? That is another thing to Linton.
that
Can
that's
these men give what they don't know?
that's true. And this is where mothers come in because as you said, you rightly say that part of your job is to mentor him, is to mentor and train daddy also, right? Daddy needs, let me tell you, every performer, every high performer has had a coach. And this is where women are better coaches of males, both husband, girlfriend, boys than men. They are good mentors. And let me tell you something. We you see, women understand men's ego, Men don't even understand their own ego, Men don't know they're coming from place of ego, right? Women understand that. And because you know that, then you can deal with that. You know that, look, that is just ego talking. You know how to take that, as old time people say, you take away a grain of salt. You know that what they're saying,
Mm.
a lot of it is not really them, it's their ego. Just like how in puberty, what is really talking is the hormone. It's the same thing with them. because man's supposed to this and man's supposed to that. The same way. Same way the hormones
Exactly.
for the teenager.
Exactly.
The same way that the ego tells them no. No woman
Yeah.
can't tell me
And
that no.
that's why when people always come to me about this, it takes a man to raise a man and all of that. And I'm saying, but sometimes
No, no.
the sperm
But
donor is not
you
even the best. You don't want the son to emulate the sperm donor, because if he wasn't a sort of man, you'd probably still be with him. So I always refute that when people come with that. And I said, look, well, here we live in a different time now where a lot of the households are headed by women. But I think we women, we can do a lot better than a lot of the men, but we also need to learn. We are not learning how to really nurture our boys. This is why I formed this group, because ladies, we complain about the man them out there and the quality of men, right?
yeah.
We need to make sure that the next generation of men are a lot better. So even if their sperm donors are acting the fool, ladies, we still have the power. Let me stick with this group because I plan to get into some things. When I talk about the feminine energy, we have it. We have it. We can do a lot better. None of we're not perfect, because even though I'm here talking, I can tell you I mess up enough times. But one thing I've learned, Linton has always taught me, be honest. I would tell my boys, I will apologize and I say, I messed up. I just not feeling it. I just wasn't feeling well. It was wrong of me to take this out on you, whatever. Don't be afraid to apologize and to be human in front of your children, because I think that's what a lot of us when we're growing up, we're
I'm
lacking.
I'm sorry I shouted at you this morning, right? I thought about the same way that you can say. I thought about all day today, or I thought about what I did yesterday, And when I think about it, I realize that I was wrong, and I'm sorry. You can say that. That's another way of
Yeah, man.
connecting. That's another way of bonding.
Exactly. I remember I break down in tears already, hugging them up, apologizing, and I saw the difference. Right. It actually amazed me. I thought they would be still a little detached, but I saw the difference in their actions and everything because I allowed myself to be human in front of them. All right. So we covered what is connection and how to connect. We realized that really, whether it be toddler or teenagers or even adult, um, actually connecting with another human being is the same, whether it's your own child or in a what do I call it, a romantic relationship or anything. Isn't that so, Linton? Connection is the same thing. So
Yeah,
ladies,
yeah.
advice if you're dating or with your husband, connect with them, build them up, affirm them, right? And of course, and something else we're going to talk about at another time, love language. All of these things come into play. So we looked at that and we wanted, what I wanted to bring up, Linton, is that um, culture plays such a huge part in how we parent. Because what you're talking about with this connection thing, it's very new and very different to how, and I like to use the term African descent because it's not just Jamaicans alone, it's
Right.
Caribbean people, and even African Americans, I find, do the same things. We see skits on it, and I love TikTok, and when you're watching it, I mean, it's so funny. Nadia said it. Do we ever stop to think of how we felt as a child? And sad to say that I've even done it myself. I get so impatient when helping with revision or homework. I'm gonna take up the ruler for threaten. And I mean, I had to stop myself and think, because the boys there ball, it's when him start ball, it really stopped me in my tracks. Because I'm saying, my God, the poor pick me under stress. And instead of just saying, hey, let's take a break, let's, do something fun, whatever, me take up ruler for threaten the pick me. How
And
would that,
and
I'm an adult. Would that work with me? No.
and
So,
and the and the trauma that you're creating here is
um,
for the boys. It's really worse than for the girls, And I tell you this
oh,
because at least we tell the boys a tough move. So they're not supposed to ball. They're not supposed to show no emotion. So they keep it inside, and then they take it out when they go to school, and they get angry and they do all sorts of stuff. And we're creating monsters, because
yeah,
of what we
yes,
do. We don't realize what it is that we're doing. So we need to treat them. We need to treat them as as warm. We need to give them what we want them to give us back. What we want them to give to the society. We have to give them that. We have
Yes.
to treat them that way and not talk about them a behave like girl picking and all that sort of stuff,
Oh,
you know.
Lord, let's not go there. All right, so now they're helping to get me on track because we do have 15 minutes left. So, how do we get from connection to confidence? So, we're making the connection with our boys. How does that help to raise confident young men?
Well, it helps because one of the things that we do when we connect, we are affirming their strength. We are telling that we see good things that they have done in the past, and that is why we know, and that is why we are confident that in the same way that they learned to do that. We remember the times when they could not tie the shoelace, and remember when they did that. So all of those things come in affirmation. You can say, I have seen that you have been successful at this, right? I
Mhm.
see that you have been successful. And when mommy can tell you, I see that you have done that. And I know that you can do greater things. And I'm here to support you, right? I am here to support you. Not that you're going to be there to do it for them, but to support them, right? It is one way that you can build up their confidence. That look, yes, mommy, I did it before, and mommy say I can do it again, right? Because all it needs is a loving adult to say, I see you have done great things, and I know that they can do it again. Because it helps you again to be honest with them, because you're not telling them something that is a made up story. You have seen it, and you can say, this is what I like about you. I see that you have done that, and it's the truth. So they know that, look, mommy saw it and know that I can do this. And mommy say, look, no, you can do anything. You are as good as any, better than many, and inferior to none. You can do whatever you put your
You
mind to.
need to remind me of that. Let me post it in the group. Yes. But I don't know if you watched the video I had posted yesterday, Linton. It's one that really it broke my heart watching it. Um, and Ayana asked the mother a very important question, and it's something we all do, and I think we need to let go of it. Um, the mother didn't see her son as a man, real man, this real man thing people have to talk about. And Ayana asked her, okay, where is this example that you have? Where is this ideal? Where did you get it from? Who is it that sets that image in your head of what a man is supposed to be? And the mother says, it's my idea. And it's something I find I also had to really work on me to release that. A way of, I have an idea of the way I think they should be. And I had to release that because, mommies, I can tell you that will break your child because we're fitting them in our perception, in our mold, and that can break that child. I had to let go of that. So I allow them to be who they are. And it really is, as the lady says, it's her idea. We have this idea in our head. And I remember Ayala got on her and said, so, okay, so there was no man in his life for him to emulate of what you think a man should be. He didn't get his father, and she did not raise him to be this man that she thinks a man should be. And I know this is something that happens a lot. So we really do need to, in helping to build their confidence, let go of whatever image we have in our heads of how we think our boys are supposed to be.
The way I say it simply when I talk to parents, I say, look, if you have an orange tree out in your yard and you go to one morning and you see that orange tree with tomato, right, full of tomato, you are going to say it is not real. You don't want any tomato, you don't want any of that tomato, because the orange tree must be orange. And we
Right.
look at our children the same way and say, look, no, it's just like thinking that a 12-year-old should be able to do that. We get up and make these
Yes.
kind of statements.
Right.
I don't believe in brightness because we do it as Caribbean people. Me boy
Mm-hmm.
bright,
Oh,
this
Lord,
one
yeah.
bright, but that one not so bright at all, right? Let me tell you, every child is bright in something, and it's for parents' duty to find out what is the child bright in and develop that. Education, which is really what we're about, and with this whole schooling thing, it's all about drawing out and building up. Do we as parents know what is the seed of greatness in our child? No, we want them all to be doctors and all of this stuff,
Oh,
which
God,
again is
yeah.
a different, is a different thing, because we want them the same career, the same career, it deal with career, it deal with the type of man, as you mentioned before. I deal with career, it deal with so many things because we have it in our mind that this is what I want. I mean, there are children who come, there are parents who come to my office for assessing their child, and as they walk in with a 10-year-old, you know what they said to me? Mr. Smith, meet me doctor's son. Meet my doctor's son. It's 10-year-old, but him is a doctor already because that is what you want for. So that is what we do. We have these visions of what we want. We don't want the child to. We don't want a good artist or a good dancer. You know, dancer. Your boys they want to be a dancer. We're going to shoot that down, right? Him could be
I
the
have
best dancer on
stories.
Broadway. Him could be the best dancer on Broadway. We don't want that because we want, and we have to be careful of that. And I'm glad that you went there, you know, in terms of say what it is that we want, our ideal, what our ideal of our son should be, right? And that is what I think has caused a lot of problem because no, sir,
Well,
me no want him to be that. Me no want him to be that at all. Me no want him to be that. Me want this part. Me want that.
Well, I've lived it, you know, because let me tell you, when I told my dad I wanted to go art school, you can imagine, remember the era we come from, you know. And him said, what you gonna do? You gonna turn starving artist? I had to do the research and show him that as a graphic designer, I can earn even more than a doctor and a lawyer. Depends on how I position myself, you know. But he grudgingly paid for art
and there's
school.
a passion, and there's a passion. We need to make our children be the best that they were created to be. That is our job, you know. That is our job. Do we want a mediocre doctor or we want a great artist? What do we really want?
In building the confidence is, and I mean, you did touch on it, Linton, but it's acceptance.
Yeah, yeah.
The acceptance part for some people might be very hard because, you know, we can think of some of the way out things that we might have to accept about our children or sons, but whatever they choose to be like, because at the end of the day, you know, it's their life. And no matter what we do, they will choose to do what they want to do. Right?
And since this is really about boys, I think it is important to remember that boys are going to be different in terms of their behavior than girls. Because you take it from baby stage, you give a boy a toy. And what he does as soon as you give him the toy, he pull it up in because he have to start to work. What the girls do, you're going to play with it the way it is supposed to be played with, but you have to make it find out how it works, what makes it work, and all of that stuff. So they have this kind of thing, and we need to, unless we're going to slap out the creativity out there, because a lot of parents do, don't pull it up. You mash out the thing that I buy for you, mash it up, and slap him, right? While he is just being inquisitive and being what we call intuitive, so that he can find out why not. And they ask a whole lot of things. Why we have to do it this way, mommy? Why we have to do it this way, teacher? Why?
Oh
right?
God, when they get to that why stage, it's maddening.
Yeah, why we have to do it that way, right? And most times the answer to that never do is that because I am your mother and I say it. The answer, that is never the answer. That is never the answer.
To ban that one, even though I've used it myself. Okay, so Linton, we have 5 minutes. What do you want to leave our listeners with when it comes to raising confident young men?
Key is that the key, the 3 words, and I'll end where I started, that we have to look at affirmation. They are doing something good. They are doing something right. And we must seek to affirm that. Affirmation, objectivity. Remember that they are unique. Your child is different from every other child that even you have, right? Is unique. And encouragement. The child is doing something, like I said, getting, and encouragement is one that we don't practice often, but we need to practice it through them. Affirmation, objectivity, encouragement. Encouragement is when the child was getting 40 all along and make, like I said, 50, and you say, boy, that's still not good enough, you know, you have to be up in the 70s, you know. All you need to say to that child in terms of encouragement is that I see that you have improved. I see that you have improved. It tells him that, look, now, you are noticing him and you realize that he can do better and he's doing better, right? So that he will do more, because whatever gets praised is going to get repeated, right? So I'd want to leave with affirmation, objectivity, and encouragement. Know your child, know how they differ from every other child, right? and deal with them, find out the way their developmental state and deal with them at the developmental state. If they are 50, but emotionally they are acting at 10, connect with them as a 10-year-old and move from there. Move from there. Meet them where they are. Get to them where they are.
Thank you. And I was about to say something and I totally forgot, a senior moment. What I wanted to point out, guys, is that you see this connection thing, unless we have that with our sons, it will be hard for us to guide them, discipline them. And when I say discipline, not about beating or anything. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so discipline doesn't mean punishment. It doesn't mean punishment.
It doesn't mean punishment. So to guide them, disciple them, steer them, whatever it is that we need to do. Correction, connect before correct was the one you used. Yes. And then I saw, right, connect before correct, connect before. No, you had said something else.
Connect before you redirect, because you want them to go a particular way, right? Yes, connect and then redirect, because you're guiding them in a particular way, but you have to connect first. You can't just guide them there with logic. You have to connect and then you redirect. And normally when you redirect, you make sure that they talk. Ask them questions, because that is the only, and especially open-ended question. What do you think we should do? How do you think? How are you feeling? Ask them that. Let them don't ask them things that they have to say yes or no. Ask them, let them discuss something.
Yeah, and I mean, mommies, let me tell you, I know as a single mother, trust me, I know it's rough, but let's enjoy our children. One of the things I love doing is playing with them, my kids, from them young. We used to have water balloon fight. We have a games night. Because I find when I do that, the connection grows. Doing things on there, I play their games, them laugh after me. Them roadblocks or whatever, them I don't know what I'm doing. But it's fun, it's funny. They laugh at me, I laugh at myself. So enjoy them. It's not always, if you're always with the rod of correction, always miserable, always just critiquing and a downer, it's going to be hard to connect.
Oh, yes. So, and Fran had said this to you in terms of closing remarks. I'd want to remind you of Moses Sitoli. Just read up Moses Sitoli. He's in prison in Africa right now. You can just read up his work.
Give me, I'm going to find it and I'm going to put the link in the group.
Right.
And thanks. So, Linton, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
And you have left a wealth of knowledge as usual. And guys, Linton is in the group. If you would like to have your child assessed, if you just need some parenting guidance, whatever.
I just want to talk before you tell him, say you're going to lock him out of the house, or you don't want to see him again. Call me. Because yeah. I mean, I'll talk to you and tell you something that maybe you could do. But and before I go, I'll just tell you that my mother used to say if she had me at the hospital, she would have swear that they swapped me. Right? So it should tell you the kind of boy that I was. If she had me at the hospital, she would have sworn that they swapped me, because I'm not like her, I'm not like my father, not like that. I used to give a lot of trouble, I can tell you that.
Okay. And Linton, I encourage you, after the live, whether even tomorrow morning, if you have time, go back, watch the video and look at the comments, and if you can respond to some, because I wasn't able to go through all of them.
Okay, beautiful. I will do.
And guys, don't worry.
I hope that my internet provider giving back internet. I've not had. I'm borrowing my cousin house to do this.
Yes, the guys, I must tell you, Linton lost his internet from week, and
from Friday
have to come on. So he went to his cousin's house, and that's where he is using their internet to do this. I so appreciate it, Linton. And of course, guys, it's not the first, and it won't be the last you'll be hearing from him. I'll be calling him to talk to us. Because let me tell you, I've learned a lot from Linton. These noisy people on the road. I've learned a lot from him. As you heard when I told the story in the beginning, when the person asked, how did he help my son? And I said, he didn't. He helped me. I've really learned a lot from him. It has helped me with bonding with my sons, my parenting styles. I'm now a certified parenting coach myself. He has influenced me so much. So we'll be hearing from him again and again. Thank you again, Linton. Guys, have a good night.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.